Hi everyone, I'm Eric from the book blog lonesomereader.com, and in a few days' time, on September 13th, the shortlist for the Man Booker Prize 2016 is going to be announced. So I'm going to throw my guesses out there about which 6 books from the long list I think are going to make the shortlist. I'm really excited to see what books make it to the top this year, because last year I absolutely loved Marlon James' novel A Brief History of 7 Killings. I think it's just such a massive, beautiful, sprawling, epic, monumental novel. So it'll be really exciting to see which books they choose to stand up against that, and whether it'll be a much shorter, easier to read novel, or these books with big important themes. Now, I haven't had as much time as I want to read all of the books on the long list. I've actually only read 5 out of the 13 novels, but I'm going to throw my guesses out there anyway, because why not? It's fun just to guess and see how many you get right. The first book I want to talk about is Debra Levees' novel Hot Milk, because this is a novel that when it first came out, I absolutely loved reading it, and since then I've heard a lot of criticism of it, of particularly people reading the long list or who have read it since then, who haven't found it as effective as I did. So I want to try to explain why I think this novel is so great. I feel like it's a novel that questions traditional roles and family life. In it, there's a mother who's a hypochondriac, and she sort of acts like a daughter, and her daughter Sophia kind of acts like her mother, taking care of her. It asks, to what degree are our individual identities subsumed when we take on a family role, or if there's space within these family roles to be multiple things at once. Sophia is an anthropologist who stands slightly apart from traditional family life, and she emerges from the sea like a Medusa covered in the stings of jellyfish. She has a fluid sense of sexuality, so she has affairs with both a man and a woman. It's a story about testing limits and the boundaries of identity, and it's filled with a lot of humor and warmth. And I just love this novel, so I really hope other people read it, and I really hope it makes the shortlist for the Booker Prize. Next I want to talk about My Name is Lucy Barton by Elizabeth Strout, which is another novel that I feel has been getting some criticism since the Booker Prize was announced, because it is such a short novel. It takes a while, I think, to realize its full effect. It's a book that really stands up to rereading. Elizabeth Strout is a great writer who is particularly good, I think, at portraying really tough, distinct individual characters. Like I said, this is a very short, pared-down novel about Lucy's time in a hospital. She's remembering her time in a hospital and as an adult, and when her mother, who she had been estranged from for a long time, comes to visit her, and she sort of mulls over the past, and there's this intense sense of communication between mother and daughter. Again, it's a mother and daughter relationship. Through these recollections of the past and how she grew to be her own person, there's a really powerful line, I think, when she states, I think I know so well the pain we children clutch to our chests, how it lasts our whole lifetime, with longing so large you can't even weep. So buried within this short book are hints of the trouble and pain of our past, which really grow in your imagination to paint her whole life. And she does this so powerfully that I think this is a great book, and another one that I think really should be on the shortlist. And the third book which I've read, which I really think should be on the shortlist, is Madeleine Tien's Do Not Say We Have Nothing. This is a novel that I read recently, and I think it is so powerful, about a girl living in Canada of Chinese descent, and how her father disappears, and she spends her lifetime trying to discover what happened to his father and understand and reconcile with her Chinese past, which she knows very little about. And she learns about this from a woman who comes to stay with her and her mother in Canada. And this woman survived the Tiananmen Square massacre, which occurred in 1989. And she learns through her the complex, fascinating history of this family in Mao's China, and how this family survived through that time, the compromises they had to make, how some of them were sent away to re-education camps because they were seen as political dissidents, how some of them had great musical talent, but this talent was suppressed because they were forced to work in factories for many years. And so I think it's a really powerful, interesting novel, so beautifully written, and it's really epic in scope. I really hope that this makes the shortlist. And the final 3 books that I'm gonna guess will be on the shortlist are books that I haven't read, but that I really want to read, and I've heard such great things about. So I sort of hope that they make the shortlist, just because it'll kind of force me to read them, because I've really been wanting to get to them. So first there's this novel Hystopia by David Means, and this is, I think, about the end of the Vietnam War. And also, I couldn't resist, on the back there is a quote from Joyce Carol Oates, who says that this is a master of tense, distilled, quintessentially American prose. He is a brilliant craftsman whose achievement is to appear unstudied, even casual. He is akin to Tom Jones, Dennis Johnson, and Richard Ford, without being like them in the most essential ways. So really excited to read this, and I've been wanting to get to it. It's been on my shelf for ages, and I don't know why I haven't read it yet. I'm also going to pick the J.M. Coetzee's novel, The School Days of Jesus. Every year on the Man Booker shortlist, there's pretty much always like a big name on the list, a really famous author name, and J.M. Coetzee obviously is very well known, and has won the prize twice before, I think. And so this is a novel I've been really wanting to read, and it's only just coming out, but I have been a bit hesitant because it's actually a sequel, and I'm always a bit wary about reading sequels to books before I've read the first book in the series. But it sounds really interesting. It's about a boy named David and his family, and how he attends a dance academy, and so I'm really intrigued, and I've loved Coetzee's writing in the past, his novel Disgrace, so really looking forward to reading this. And finally, I'm going to guess that Paul Beattie's novel The Sellout will make the shortlist. This book I've heard had really strong personal recommendations for. People have sort of told me at length about why I should read this novel. It sounds really good, really interesting. It's supposed to be a witty, satirical novel about a man involved in a race trial taken to the Supreme Court. So I've heard so many positive things about it, about how clever it is and how funny it is, and so I think it'll be a good, enjoyable read. But speaking about enjoyable reads, there is also another novel which I'm going to kind of cheat in saying that I wouldn't mind if this made the shortlist as well. Ian Maguire's novel The Northwater, which I didn't pick for the top of the list of what I think will make the shortlist, because I think it's maybe just not sort of considered literary or profound enough for the Booker Prize, but it is such an enjoyable read. I had so much fun reading it. I talked about it a lot in my last video. That just has really evocative descriptions, which might really turn your stomach, because there's a lot of violence. It's really gritty descriptions of late 19th century whaling voyage and all of the horrors and the griminess that goes with a group of men living on a ship for a long time. And then it's such a gripping story about betrayal, and it's just a really powerful, gripping read. So so I really wouldn't mind if that makes the shortlist as well. But I could be totally wrong, and it could be 6 other books entirely. So we'll see on Tuesday the 13th. It's going to be announced at 10:30 a.m. What books make the shortlist, and then there's going to be a party that evening, shortlist party at the Serpentine Pavilion, which I'm very excited because I've been invited to go to that, and so it'll be fun to see if some of the authors are there and the publishers and the judges. So I hope we're all excited to see what books will make the shortlist. So let me know, have you read any of the books on the long list, and what books do you want to see make the shortlist? Let me know in the comments below and we can discuss and debate it out. So thank you for watching. I hope after the shortlist is announced that I'll have time to read any books that I haven't read that are on the actual shortlist by the time the winner is announced on October 25th. If you want to hear more of my thoughts about the Booker Prize when the shortlist is announced and as I read the shortlist, please subscribe to my channel. So happy reading, guys, and talk to you soon.